actually interesting. But of course, this is also just, it's not a straight view on it. It's not really a view, but it was interesting to see the different types of work culture. And and that was, was something that we explored over the years. It was nice to have that over here. So
we are foreshadowing already a little bit what we were going to talk about.
sorry, no spoilers, no spoilers.
No worries.
Guido, you want to get started?
All right. Let me just switch the view here for the recording. So, speaking of which, we're going to record the session, but we're only going to record the speaker. So, it's going to be anonymized for the session itself. I'm going to start the recording now. And with this said, I think we can head right into the webinar. Welcome everybody to our I think it's the first webinar blended outsourcing and software development today. With me today is my colleague Marcel Müller and Jacek, who is our external expert who's going to talk with us today, but I'm going to come to this later on. A little introduction of who we are and what we do at the Center for Deep Tech Innovation. So basically, as you can see here, we have like a, let's say, three-pillar approach. We do consulting, and education services. This goes from consulting companies doing innovation radars to innovation soundboarding, over doing webinars, courses, and also certificate courses. These are free webinars, as the one is right on here, or also free and paid webinars, for instance, what we do in the field of AI and prompt engineering. We also do workshops with companies, for instance, could be innovation deep dive, developing roadmaps, up to actual developing software and implementing software together with companies in the companies themselves. Who we are, in the end, we are a team of 7 PhD level consultants with different expertise, as you can see here, from AI, blockchain, data science, climate tech, to corporate innovation, and a stack of 10 full stack developers and data scientists who do kind of the software work with us and for us. With that being said, maybe a little overview of what our core technologies we work with are. So basically, this is blockchain, AI, climate tech, and IoT, and of course, any kind of interrelation of these technologies with each other. So I think with this being said, as a little intro, it's more important to come to what you guys are actually here for. And therefore, I would hand over to Marcel, who's going to be like the main speaker today. And I think the best one to introduce himself is Marcel himself, so I will hand over to him.
Thanks, Guido. And thanks everybody for coming today. Warm welcome in the rounds. My name is Marcel. I have a PhD in computer science on the topic of trust-aware business processes some time ago. I've been in software for a very long time, worked across different companies in big industry, Germany over here, and for academia in different locations of this world. I do a lot of business process management, and I started out as a software engineer by trade. Right now, I'm not doing any programming myself anymore, but I led countless teams, build up teams, and got teams to innovate and bring solutions to life. And what we are going to be talking today about is a little bit of course, my experience that we have here in the Center for Deep Tech Innovation, built up with regards to outsourcing and the core principles of outsourcing, forces and challenges. In the second part, I'm going to introduce a concept called blended outsourcing, or I dubbed blended outsourcing, which I think is a very efficient way to manage different team members across the globe and across different, let's say, points and strategic angles. And in the end, in part 3, we will have one of our partners from our network around the Center for Deep Tech Innovation, who is actually leading projects as a consultant, leading teams that do blended outsourcing. And with that, I want to give you a very high-level overview about the forces that drive us to outsource, work that we have in our companies to others. And I put them here in a little bit of a plane, where I say we have three dimensions, and pulling into we have four dimensions, pulling in four different directions. On the one hand, we have agility, where we have especially, I'm always taking here an example, the German economy, but wherever you are in the world, especially if you're just the United States or the UK or somewhere in Europe, will probably be very similar to you. Hiring somebody in-house comes with first a lot of overhead, and then a lot of, let's say, wind up time until you find somebody, you hire somebody, and until somebody is productive. Of course, there is always some sort of wind up and onboarding time that you have. Never mind if this person is an in-house person or an external. Speaking of outsourcing in that sense, but generally, what you have with outsourcing, you have generally less overhead in terms of the scalability and the flexibility of your models. In Germany, you're usually bound to working contracts that cannot be cancelled for at least 3 months. With outsourcing, you have a little bit more flexibility regarding the term, but also regarding having different resources doing different types of work in your organization. Economics, cost savings, wages and trainings and overhead is one of is the second dimension that I want to talk about. Of course, it is not as easy as, okay, we outsource everything to a country halfway across the globe, and then our costs will go down by 2/3. But there are some cost advantages. They can be negated by large overheads that comes to it, inefficiency and quality issues, but there are generally possibilities if you manage correctly, which can help you to interesting economics behind your outsourcing rationale. The third dimension is strategy. Whether you are a core business or whether your core business is doing software development, or you're just a company that does software development as part of their main business, there might be a part to separate that from your core business and do not have all the capabilities in-house, but rather outsource it to somebody who can specialize to get a better quality and really focus on the departments there. That also goes a little bit into risk management. If you have long employee contracts with you, if you want to go into a new market and you don't want to, or in a new product, and you don't want to build up completely new teams from scratch in-house, where you don't know if that business branch is viable and you want to continue that business branch in the future, then outsourcing can, of course, also be a very good first, let's say, dip your toe in the water type of situation, where it helps you not being tied down too much and having the agility, going back to the first point. And the largest and the fourth one is availability. And especially here in continental Europe, and speaking especially for Germany, we have a huge shortage of skilled labor. That makes it very hard for us to scale our teams in a time frame that is acceptable, that we would like to have often. And yeah, of course, just outsourcing everybody to a country half across the world is not the silver bullet for everything, but there are some advantages to gain if you do it in a good way. And there is several good ways on how to do that, and we are later talking about blended outsourcing. That's our good way and our experience that we had over time to do. So we talk about the opportunities that we have and the forces that pull us to that rationale that we would like to think about outsourcing and scaling our teams with externals. Then we have also the boundaries of when we outsource, we want to achieve certain things, or we have to do certain things. We have to play within certain boundaries. And one of the biggest boundaries is quality. We do not want depends on your organization, but often you do not want to just throw quality out of the window, have some low-skilled developers doing something that in the end doesn't help your business, or either damages your core business because the quality is not upheld. That is not only code quality; it's also maintainability, it's correctness, it's everything that goes to the product itself. On the other hand, we have typical stuff that you do for onboarding, but not only for onboarding, but also on the long term, and it's knowledge management. Understanding best practices and convention, making sure that all the best practices that your organization has established within itself are also being upheld by externals is often a huge challenge and a boundary in which we have to play. Speaking of organization and management are also two boundaries that are sometimes a little bit hard to struggle. On the one hand, you have cultural barriers. On the other hand, you have time zone differences. So let's say the wild dream of a typical manager is that you have a team in the United States that works, and when their shift is done at 6 p.m. Pacific time, then the shift starts in Europe. And once the shift in Europe is done, the shift starts in East Asia, and then you can work around the globe constantly. Well, unfortunately, it's not as easy as it sounds. You have time zone differences. You need to coordinate between your outsourced people and between your own team. But you also have to bridge cultural barriers. For example, people from South and Southeast Asia being culturally not so trimmed like the Middle Europeans to voice concerns about ways to go, or having more creativity at hand. That's something that I saw over the years very a lot, and getting people actually to adapt our work culture and our culture of being letting everybody contribute freely as good as they can without a big pressure on them is an obstacle for us to get over through, and the boundary, of course. And that all of that works, we're talking about supervision and management, which is an overhead that you have to, that you are getting into when you are outsourcing, which you wouldn't have, to make sure that certain standards are reached. Honestly, supervision you also have with internals, but especially with outsourced people with different backgrounds, this might have a different level of importance and of challenge behind it. The issues and challenges also are more prevalent or less prevalent depending on how big your organizations are and how your software products are being used. For example, small companies with, let's say, not so complex software stacks who don't have necessarily their own software, but do basically customization of standard software for users, they can get away with a lot more compromises than you would if you are a large-sized enterprise and you make enterprise grade software that you sell to customers that in the end expect an enterprise quality and enterprise scale maintainability and support behind it. So it's different ways on how your organization works and what type of software you're talking about. Talking about the software, we are talking about internal software products, tools that help you for process automation or make your life easier, but that you don't really show towards the outside, and software products that you sell to your customers as a product. And usually these have higher quality standards, and because your customers are usually less willing to forgive than the people that work for you for things that don't work. Yeah, some companies with ancient internal software stacks take that principle very much to the very bitter end, but something to be aware of and have just as a mind model. When we're talking about outsourcing, we talk usually about 3 different types of outsourcing that we call onshore, nearshore, and offshore. The picture that you see here on the right side is from a perspective of a company that is in southern Germany, where Onshoring basically describes externals that work very close to your team, not only in terms of location, but also in terms of culture, in terms of background, in terms of stack. It's usually people that are within the same locality, maybe within the same country or the same region, where you have, let's say, little gaps to close. But the price advantage for these type of resources are, of course, different than when you are in a country that is has a significantly lower average pay than your own country that you have. We have nearshoring. Nearshoring basically describes outsourcing work to a person or team that is, I say, relatively close to your team, with almost no time difference, where you might have language and cultural barriers, but not too widely, and where the cost point is a bit lower than when you go for onshoring, but not the lowest end of the line. Nearshoring is especially when you would be a company in Central Europe, if you're going to outsource somewhere to Eastern Europe or to Southeastern Europe, to the Balkans or something similar. It's a culturally and language-wise still relatively close, so people know very good English, or at least the people who speak in tech, to work in tech. Time zone, it's next to nothing in terms of differences, and also the work culture is close, at least now speaking from a German perspective. If you are from the United States, I think you already know your localities that are equivalent to that over here. And then we're talking about offshoring, and offshoring is really outsourcing work to a person or team that is far away from your core team, not only in terms of locality, where you have probably a lot of different time zones that you have to manage, but also large language and cultural differences. I don't mean that the local language is different than to your local language, but also the capabilities of the English language might be, especially in South and Southeast Asia, different than what you expect. And also, since these languages are, let's say, a little bit further away from English than Middle European, Germanic or Romanic languages are, there's also this difference that often there is some semantics that are not as intuitive as they should be. But often, and that's why a lot of people go for offshoring, these are the cheapest options, because especially talking about Southeast Asia, or right now also, in my opinion, coming Central Africa, Sub-Saharan Africa in general, are often the cheapest options due to lower cost of living. You have to make different types of compromises in different setups. There's no silver bullet that just fits all. But over the time working with our partners that are connected to the Center for Deep Tech Innovation, we saw a general meetup pattern that works very well. And that's called blended outsourcing. Blended outsourcing, you see here a little picture. You have usually inside your organization some sort of manager, a project manager, or coordinator that is the direct interface to one external person that we call a team lead. They usually have your typical interfaces that you have in product development regarding requirements, regarding management and coordination. And that team lead is usually a senior developer that is in different dimensions close to you, close to the organization that wants to outsource. So that's usually an onshore or a nearshore person who has some capabilities and some experience in managing teams, and who also should be, in terms of the technicalities, one of the most senior people that work in that blended outsourcing setup. Behind this team lead being the main interface for you as an organization outsourcing, there is then a bunch of different developers that work together with the team lead, but that you as an internal of the organization don't really interact with. That would be your software development team. That would be either nearshore or offshore. And the team lead should be capable of dividing work but also managing, assuring quality and supervising these people, getting them up to the standards, understanding the standards, and maintaining a generally working and efficient team in there. The rule of thumb, of course, is the same like usual software development teams. It shouldn't be too big. Like one team lead, you should mostly coordinate 4 to 6 developers, maybe in some cases a little bit more, maybe, and sometimes a little bit less. But just generally, just a rule of thumb, don't get 30 people to be managed by one team lead. That's not going to be a helpful experience for anybody in here. How to coordinate blended outsourcing? If you want to do that, you have, for example, you have basically 2 options. You could have that being coordinated in-house, where you have some sort of department or someone who is managing, finding new people, setting up the whole team, getting these people together, maintaining the relationships, contracting, and all of the overheads for that. Or you are contracting a company that supplies blended outsourcing as a service, where you have a relationship only to one party and you have a lot of other people behind the scenes. And the outsourcing provider maintains the relationships then to the other resources. And also in terms of overhead and payroll, it's a little bit more simple. And at this point, I would like to hand over to Guido, because we have here today an expert who has been working with one of our collaborators from the Center for Deep Tech Innovation called JNX. It's a software company providing blended outsourcing for backend, for front-end development, on also for innovation projects end to end. Guido, with that, up to you.
Yeah, with that being said, I'm very happy to present to you today our expert, Jacek Janklura. I hope I said the name well. As you may see, we are like on the first name level already. So yeah, we know Jacek for quite some time now, which is why we're very happy to have him here today. Jacek is team lead of blended outsourcing at JNX and will give us some insights from practice with regards to blend outsourcing. And here also, like the reminder for you, if you have any questions, feel free then to just unmic or write the question in the chat. I will then integrate them to them. But since we have no questions so far, I would suggest that I would just come up with some questions that interest me now in this topic. So the first one would be Jacek, since you have quite some experience with blended outsourcing projects. So what is your experience, or what has been your major takeaways with blended outsourcing in teams? And yeah, what is your point on blended outsourcing, maybe?
Yeah, sure. So first of all, it's really important to understand that we cannot expect to outsource everything to external country or to external people and expect to get the same quality and the same results as from in-house engineers, and that needs to be clear. So we need to have clear communication channels and very unified standards for processes and code quality. Usually there are as well some communication barriers, so that people from especially India, they speak really good English, but sometimes it happens that they don't, and then we need to figure out if the problem is them not understanding the tasks or the expectations, or if the problem is them not understanding us while we are speaking. So it's as well really important. So we cannot expect to outsource everything and have the same results. So as Marcel said before, we usually have, so in the projects where I work or where I'm leading the teams, we usually have 1 or 2 in-house people that in the team that are experienced. They cannot be juniors. And then we have a few externals, either front-end engineers, back-end engineers, or UX designers that cooperate together in the agile team and basically together work to deliver the quality. And as soon as the developers are embedded into your team, they are like an integral part of the team. They're just located in a different place. We schedule a specific quality measures. So I'm a big advocate for test-driven development. It's absolutely fantastic, and it allows code reviews and delivering better results. But as well, there is a lot of constraint. There are as well, I think, a bigger expectations for the team lead to specify the tasks a bit better and maybe a bit more clear. Yeah, usually the problems are as well connected to the cultural differences. So in India, it's absolutely not acceptable to tell to your superiors no, or that something is wrong. Where in Europe, in Germany, we're expecting that from our employees. If I do something wrong, if my designs are bad, I'm expecting my devs to tell me straight away, Jacek, I think it's wrong, we should do this or that. Or Jacek, I think it's completely bullshit and it won't work. Why not doing this or that? So the proactivity of the people cooperating, that we cooperate usually either from India or Korea, is the mentality change, and yeah, I would call it mentality change.
So basically, if I understand it right, there are differences between, let's say, nearshoring and offshoring. But if I also understand it right, that you would say that with time and like good management from from the lead, there is a possibility to kind of unite the team to have like, well, the same ways to communicate, the same ways to soundboard and everything.
Yeah, so absolutely important are structured meetings. So very structured dailies. Usually we run dailies in 2 runs. First run, very quick introduction, 1-2 minutes. What have you done yesterday? What will you do today? And what are the blockers? And then in second round, we go deeper into the issues. As well, the refinement meetings are super important, where the team lead is refining with the product owner all the tickets that are expected to be done. Then the planning meeting is super important, so the team knows what's expected to be delivered in a specific time frame. Yeah, so things like that.
Okay, so basically a little bit the far you go away, like from here to offshoring, and the more different cultures you have, the more kind of structure you have to give as a team lead to the team in order for everybody to cooperate well.
Yeah, usually as well we try to have at least 4 hours of having working together, of having some kind of overlap, because we can't really work with employees that are not there when we are here. So currently in my team, I've got 2 developers from India, 1 developer from Vienna in Austria, and 2 guys from Germany, and it works perfectly, even though everybody is of course working remotely. We are opening soon another team that would be mostly offshore and nearshore. So I'm a big fan of developers from Poland, Czech Republic, and Balkan countries. They're absolutely amazing. They are, I would say, way better than what we can find on the market in Germany, because it's the hiring here is absolutely ridiculous, and the quality of people that are applying are as well way lower. And with this nearshoring, where you at the end don't save that much money, but you gain a lot of experience, and the people with exactly the same mentality, similar time zone, and then you blend those people with someone from India, where you a bit need to work on the best practices, on code quality sometimes. So I would not fully outsource, for example, SSO system to developers from India, because I'm expecting as well during the architecture, during the delivery of the software, an approach from my developers to be as specific and as straight to the point as possible. And if someone is trained, or if it's your mentality that you should not tell your superiors that something is wrong, or that something cannot be done in this time frame, especially during the estimations, when we try to estimate the different tasks, and you ask employee from India, can we do it in let's say 3 days, and he's like, yeah, sure, we can do it. And after 3 days, what happened? I've got this and that blocker, I need more time. And that's not helping me as a team lead. I need to know it, so I'm able to plan it, because there are specific stakeholders that rely on me, that rely on what my team is delivering. And I cannot just tell them that, yeah, we'll deliver it in, let's say, 4 days, and then come to them and say, sorry, my developer didn't tell me that there are massive blockers, and it's not 3-day ticket, but 2 weeks ticket.
Okay, good to hear. I think something that is also quite interesting for the audience. And actually, one of my major takeaways is that also in terms of quality, you can improve, especially in the nearshoring field, which is something well, I actually didn't have in mind in this way. And actually, by mentioning the audience, I would say, because my kind of key questions I had for Jacek are somehow answered now, and I would like to ask you if you have any specific questions you would like to ask, be it on outsourcing or takeaways. Feel free to open the mic anytime you want, or well, write it in the chat. I will then integrate it. But I think since we are quite a small group, we can just like speak up. So just unmute the mic and pose any questions you have, if there are some. If not, I consider that the topic is full resolved and you have all the information needed. Maybe also with regard to this, if any questions come up in the meantime or something, always feel free to reach out to us. So we're also, well, after the webinar, we are happy to answer any questions or to provide you with the help needed. So just for this being said, in case there's something, just speak up or write us an email or something.
Yes, and from the Center of Deep Tech Innovation, also from my side, if you are looking to build up this type of blended outsourcing, we have a vast network with, let's say, and JNX being one of them, where we are, setting up these teams, doing blended outsourcing as a service for you. Never mind where you are in the world, what you're looking for. We have enough partners to work on to help you. So if there's any question arising, feel free to just shoot us an email, and we will try to find somebody who can build and create a team.
Right.
Good. Thank you very much also for your feedback. And yeah, with that, I would say we have one question.
So, do you think that the use of resources from India is no longer an option?
I think it's still an option. Developers from India are great, and in general, Indian people are so nice. So it's absolutely on the table. You just need to understand what are the differences between. I'm talking about our culture here in Germany, or in general in Europe, and in India, as I mentioned. It's not saying no to your superiors, or you can have a really good developers that work not as productive as you would expect. So they are not. There are no processes usually in Indian companies as we know them in Europe. But come on, Indians sent rocket to space for $70 million. Come on.
So
they're super talented. Most of the CEOs in the world are from India, so they are super talented, really hardworking. You just need to understand the differences. My colleagues from the university, when they were coming from India to Europe, they had to as well switch the mentality to understand how I'm based in Berlin. So how how we think in Berlin, that there is nothing wrong in saying no. There is nothing wrong in saying you are wrong, and it's expected.
So now we have a question: if blend outsourcing works well with DevOps?
Yeah, absolutely. So, at least from my perspective, we have everything as scripted as infrastructure as code, and we cooperate with one person from time to time that is consultant from India, I think. And yeah, it works very well. So as long as specification of the architecture, then writing CDK or Terraform scripts for DevOps. I'm not sure if outsourcing entire DevOps to different countries the best, because you should have this knowledge in-house, and especially when it comes to authorization authentication to your services, the payment processing, that's knowledge that should stay in-house. You can have someone external who would build that for you, or who would blend into your team and cooperate with you as a part of cost saving. So yeah, absolutely, it would work with DevOps, but you need to have procedures. You need to know the boundaries and the team and the differences.
Perfect. So I hope, Tim, yeah, that we've been able to answer your question. I guess we have. Yeah. Any further questions so far?
Yes, well, feel free to unblock your mic and ask something. We can have a conversation. If you disagree with something what I said, I'm absolutely open for discussion.
Okay, great. And if there's nothing else, we will stay in here a couple of minutes if you want to talk afterwards. When the group is not so full anymore. And if not, I thank you all very much for your attendance, for your time today, and yeah, I wish you good luck. And yeah, as said, if you want to set something up like that for yourselves, for your organization, please shoot us an email. We will talk and we will see how we can get back to you.
Right. Also, all other channels, LinkedIn and stuff works, but I think this is self-explanatory.
Yeah, my email is in the chat, so feel free to directly reach out to me if you want.
I was just going to say thank you. That was interesting.
Thanks, Dan.
Yeah.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Thank you, guys. Very useful.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Guido, you can stop the recording, I think, if you haven't already.
I think Christopher is still here.
Yeah, Chris.